Welcome to the Smash Podcast with Adam Smash Smith. I'm your host, Shaheen Azizi. Why is attitude so important when developing a rigorous educational program?
You know, really, every student's going to be a product of whatever I can provide, so even it's funny because days that I feel like I can't have the right attitude, I'll make sure to take those days off. And the funny, and even more funny is like I learned that as I got older. Before, when I was younger, I just thought, and I'll show up to the gym every single day, make sure I teach the classes every single day, and no matter what. But then I realized I started having problems on the days that I would show up and I would maybe have something going on in my own life or something, and I wasn't able to respond with all of the knowledge and ways that I know how to respond appropriately based on like a person and stuff like that. And it takes a lot of cognitive thought to make sure that when you're teaching or you're inspiring or talking with somebody, that you do it the right way that fits them a lot. So, I mean, you can only imagine if one thing's off on yourself, how much harder it is to make sure that you're doing the right thing on all of those aspects.
So consistency is key, and it's imperative that you not just show up consistently, but that you show up the same way, the proper way.
Yeah, consistency is key. And it is important that you show up every single day. If you're somebody that's just training, it's a lot easier to show up to the gym and not have to worry about, conversing with somebody and showing good attitude that way. All you got to do is show up, be a good training partner. That's a lot easier to have a good attitude that way. When you're the teacher, you're somebody like leading the school, maybe the head of the school instead of somebody that's just an instructor. It's important that your attitude is like almost, perfect when you walk into that facility every single day. So I think it is important to make sure that you have good, consistent attendance and everything like that. But at the same time, it's more important that you are aware that if there's times that something's going on and you just can't put it together to where you're that same person, that you take the day off or figure out another way that you can possibly work without being so interactive with everybody.
Yeah, it just goes hand in hand with the whole lead by example, right? If you can't present yourself in the way that you are demanding of everyone else, you're not showing that same level of attitude that you want them to convey.
I think even it is, that's the thing. Maybe I didn't learn that as much when I was growing up, but I've learned it a lot more now, and mostly just influences that I've had from like business people and stuff is, it is important to even lead on that aspect that, okay, not everybody's perfect. If my students or if somebody says, hey, where's Mr. Smith today? That, my instructors can say, oh, he's just needed to take the day off. Okay, cool. That shows them that I did the right thing for myself, whether I be sick or mentally not in shape or whatever it is. I took the day off because I needed to instead of forcing myself,
Yeah, it shows that it's important for you to follow through.
And
just as much as it is for them, we need to be present, and if you can't be, then you need to reevaluate or not show up to class and take the day off.
Well, that just really, exactly goes back into how effective I can be as a teacher when everybody has the right attitude. If everybody's coming in and they're positive, and for us, my school, what I like to do, what I'm trying to do with my schools is to build an attitude of community, a place where everybody feels comfortable, something that, you can walk in the door and feel like it doesn't matter if you have, one arm, no leg, you're purple hair, whatever like that. If you're coming in and you get on the floor, you're ready to train, appropriately and hard and stuff, that you're welcome. And that takes really a sense of community. We have kids and everything like that. One of our instructors, he's awesome, Coach John, because he's got like a mohawk, and he's just got, and it's like tattoos. He has a dog print tattoo on his neck, I think, and he has like a big scar across his chest, and he's a heavy metal rocker and stuff like that. So he comes in every day and you kind of look at the guy and you're like, wow, that guy's got, he's intense. It kind of looks like it. But then his attitude just all of a sudden changes your opinion of him, because he's like our friendliest, nicest kids coach. You know, he's very gentle. He just gets down on the kids level. People just really, really like him. And so his attitude comes in and it just fits that community. But he looks like somebody that you'd be like, oh man, that guy's walking into the gym kind of thing. But when he gets in there and he puts the uniform on, well, the uniform kind of helps everybody, you know, look the same no matter what. But, you know, you can still see his mohawk and his tattoos and his scars on his chest and stuff like that. And, you know, that kind of still comes through in a person, like some of their you know, traits that they have. But his attitude really just fits so well with
your
the community.
attitude sets the tone so well that this whole judge a book by its cover thing goes right out the window, right? And it gets the point across that you're here, you mean business, and your plan is to participate and show respect to the art. And that way the follow-up from your students will be just as effective as what you were hoping to get out of them. But if you don't show up with that same level of respect and attitude, how can you demand it of them?
My instructors, when I was young, you know, me and I have a couple brothers, you know, and my brothers and we were the poorest kids in the school. You know, we just didn't have all the things that all the other kids had and stuff. But really what's super cool that sets a good attitude is the martial arts uniform. When everybody's wearing the same uniform, and the only thing that differentiates them is their belt color, you know, or their skills on the mat, because sometimes you get a white belt that's a killer, you know. And people know it. You don't even have to have a belt. You can tell.
You can tell.
It's like, oh, dude,
rolled with that guy for 5 minutes.
Or you just see him across the mat, and you're like, oh, okay, maybe you're a higher level belt, and you're like, all of a sudden I'm injured. You know.
Wait.
But you know, anyways, that just kind of comes through. You know what I'm saying? So.
It's a team thing as well, right? We're all here for the same idea, or we're all working towards the same goal, regardless if you're trying to get your black belt and you're a brown belt and I just got my first stripe. I still have to implement the same ideas that you are to get where I need to go, even though I'm on a completely different level.
Yeah, and that really takes a consistent attitude through the entire facility. You know, the more you can get the white belts on the same page as the upper level belts, the better the system or like the machine of the class flow goes. Like people understand like when it's time to drill, when it's time to roll like 50%, when it's time to roll like 100%, you know, when somebody accidentally maybe does something to them and they understand that it was an accident, like maybe they, you know, went too long in a choke or something or didn't feel a tap or something. Those are a lot of things that I see in schools and stuff that can shift people's attitude, like, you know, immediately. You know, people tend to take it a little personal, and yeah, I can kind of understand why, because, you
they
know,
got hurt. They got hurt. It doesn't feel good.
It doesn't.
Like, hey, I'm not coming back here tomorrow. You just almost snapped my neck.
It's the real deal in this, you know, like you do get hurt, and exactly that, you know, you can get hurt by somebody and you can be out for a period of time, which can really adjust your attitude quite a bit, you know, or you can just get bumps and bruises, and not everybody responds to bumps and bruises the same that everybody else does. You know, I'm a professional fighter. You give me a fat lip and stuff, I kind of just laugh it off and just kind of go, oh, that's funny. But you give some guy a fat lip that also is a businessman that needs to go in and do a meeting the next day, all of a sudden he's like, oh man, this is, you know, maybe didn't make,
how can I keep this up?
Didn't make me as happy as it made that other guy over there, you know? So yeah. So I mean, just the more that everybody can stay on the same attitude to keep the flow of training going appropriately is like always key in, I think, a facility.
Yeah. It's imperative that we all have the same goals without inherently assuming the expectation for what you're doing outside of your life. Like my reasoning for doing jiu-jitsu versus someone else's, even if we're going along the same path, maybe, you know, as the businessman, I necessarily don't want it to have a scratch on my neck or a fat lip, but I still want to learn everything. I don't want to do 50%. You know, I want to put the time in. So we have to reciprocate so that you get your goal. You want to be a tough guy. You're a fighter. Maybe I don't want to be a fighter, but that doesn't mean that we both still can't learn and interact with each other and get the exact same level of education.
Yeah, you know, and that's the hard part about being the instructor in the class or being like the owner of a facility, is that it's your job to protect that attitude throughout the facility so that everybody can train safely and effectively. So if I'm, watching a class appropriately, I'm watching people grapple, I'm watching people interact with each other. I'm seeing, okay, hey, that guy over there started speaking aggressively to his partner, or that guy over there started doing the drills like too hard. You can see across the mat. You can watch somebody start going too hard, and then you can see their partner being like starting to get upset. They're like, oh, okay, cool. Like they don't want to go that hard, but their partner's not necessarily trying to. They're just not coordinated or whatever, so that they're just kind of going a lot harder than they think they're going, which causes their partner to start shifting their attitude and kind of be like, hey, I don't want to do this anymore, so I'm going to put a kind of a fight a little bit more too. And then it turns into this battle of like,
they're almost getting into an aggressive battle where they should have been training.
Which what's going to happen down the road. They're going to start to explode. Eventually it's going to come to a head, and then it's not good. So the better that you can be the teacher that watches out for those, and you disperse them as necessary. What I do is if I see something in the class that's not going good, I just tell everybody switch partners. That's a good tool for me to help control the attitude. And it's like shuffling the deck. All of a sudden you shuffle the deck and hope that the next time people get better partners.
Result.
Exactly. You get a better result the next time. And if it doesn't happen that time, then shuffle the deck again. Yeah. It's always good for people to get a new partner to be able to train with a different body anyways. So not only is it a good tool for me to, check the attitude of class or change the attitude of class or get it to where I want it to go, but it's also a good opportunity for people, to train with different people.
Yeah, I mean, you might not be able to read the body language of every person. Maybe two people are rolling together and they're just, one of them is a little more distant from trying to follow the drills. Maybe they can't pay attention as well, and the other person isn't as good, as just the same, but neither of them are willing to admit they didn't watch what you just did. And so switching everybody up, you just saved these two from being aggressive and those two people. Well, neither of them watched what you were doing because maybe they were distracted by the aggressive people in the previous moment. So the quicker we can get everybody to balance out, I mean, it makes more sense that you would switch everything, or maybe not do it in a way that you pointed out, hey, you guys are doing this and I need you to switch, because that might throw the whole class off.
Well, I mean, that's a great point even, is that, the last thing I really try to do is point somebody out, especially white belts, because they take it a lot more personal than it really is meant to be. It's more or less of a learning opportunity. We're not trying to point somebody out and say, hey, this person made a mistake, but it's not to be negative that person. It's just to learn a lesson. Everybody gets to talk about that lesson a little bit, but people start to, unfortunately, just nobody likes to be the guy in class that the teacher, just pointed their finger at and everybody's looking at,
Like
so
you're the example.
Like you're the example, so it can all of a sudden change people's attitude. Eventually when you get up to higher belts, then it's easier for you to take that criticism in front of the group and stuff.
Learn the expectation that you need to take constructive criticism. And if you take criticism in a way that it's not constructive, I mean, unless there's those few moments, I doubt that.
That's why I try to pick on the higher belts, or the people that I know well, because if I know that somebody's going to respond well to the criticism and the rest of the people in the class get to see that I'm, criticizing, and then how that person responds, as long as they respond the right way, then everybody else in the rest of the class learns, oh, that's what we're supposed to do. And if we get called, if somebody says we're not supposed to freak out and cry and then say I'm going to go home or not show up the next day or something like that because I felt like everybody's going to look at me because I did the drill wrong the other day. But it's more or less like, oh, it's just the learning opportunity. So, that's even what the thing is an attitude shift is just understanding that learning process of, okay, criticism, the intention behind what's being said to you. If I walk up to you and I start using the F word in bad terms and being vulgar and stuff like that, I wouldn't show up maybe to that place again. I might find a different gym. But if I'm trying to speak with you with a nice, calm energy and stuff like that, I'm just trying to point out different details, then that's the time you want to go, hey, maybe this teacher actually is trying to help me.
Yeah, that's real education right there.
Yeah, my instructor used to always say, that means they must like you because they're trying to help you get better. And in martial arts, that's the best thing that I can do for my students is help them get better. And so when I come around and I give somebody a tip, it's like a help in a class, it's like free education, just like you said.
I'm giving you my energy, which is me putting my time into you. I'm dedicating some resources because I see potential.
Right. There's a lot of schools out there where I see it's like group fitness class, and you show up, the instructor shows a drill, you just work on it with a partner, you don't ask any questions to the instructor, you guys just figure it out as a partners and stuff like that. Maybe the instructor just goes and sits in the corner and starts looking at their phone and stuff like that. So technically that's kind of what people pay for, is to show up and get that just group fitness class, kind of figure it out. And then you get more instruction and more detail when you pay for private lessons. That's how somebody that's trying to do this for a profession makes money, so they can pay their rent at their house and support their family and stuff like that. So there's part of that where instructors, you kind of have to save, being over detail oriented to all your students, because then they'll never need to give you private lesson, pay for a private lesson ever. But at the same time, I'm the opposite, where I just always give away the farm. I just love to walk around and correct people and stuff. I'm not in it really for the money. I live in an RV, so.
Yeah, well, that shows in your own personal attitude, right? I'm not going to necessarily say it's a greedy way to teach, but maybe it's as effective as you can be as a teacher, and you have to do your system that way. But people will learn quickly that I shouldn't have to be on some tiered pricing to get the right education from somebody. And this guy's willing to give me all the time and concern from day one. So I should be willing to give him my time and concern in whatever he's trying to teach to me, even if he is criticizing the way that I engaged the guillotine or something, or I was too aggressive,
Building a better dynamic with your coach always helps them want to come over and give you more attention. If you're somebody that responds well to the criticism, and it's nice for your coach to come over and just say, hey, here's how you fix this detail, blah, blah, blah. And you say, oh, thank you so much, professor. I appreciate the details. Well, let me tell you what, as a teacher myself, when I walk around and I know that some guy's going to say that to me, it makes me want to go over and just give him that piece of advice, because I know that he's not going to say, well, what if they do this? Or what if they do this? Or they didn't just ask me a question of something that I just showed 30 seconds ago. Tell you one of those frustrating things might be, when you show a drill and then 30 seconds later somebody's like, I didn't get it, but you'll ask before, did everybody get it? Nobody says anything. It's more or less they just don't want to be identified that they need to see it again, So I try the best I can to keep that energy of like go ahead and let us know that you didn't
read
get it.
the room.
Yeah.
And hope that someone will pick up and realize that you're going to reciprocate the same kind of calm energy when they're just gently
But I always
asking.
see the people staring off at the person next to them like, is he going to say he needs to see it again? Is he going to say
Yeah, oh, okay.
and they're like, oh,
Would
we
someone
didn't see
please
it,
ask? I do not want to be the only one.
Yeah, exactly, And I think even like it's so funny because the kids' classes, usually I use 3 times. I always just say 3 times a charm. I'll try to show something at least 3 times. The kids' classes, I can show something 3 times, and every kid will go out there and just try their best. Like, they'll just try to do it. They were like paying attention because their parents teach them, pay attention when the teacher's talking. And so they go out there and they usually do a great job. And then I get to the adults classes and I show a drill, same thing, 3 times. And then right away, somebody raises their hand without even trying it yet. They haven't even got on the mat, haven't even got down on the mat to try it. They just say, I didn't get it. I was just looking off into la la, or something like that. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, But, it's one of those things that people also have to learn, that's the expectation that I have as a teacher, is that you actually pay attention. The expectation isn't that I come over and baby you through everything all the time. The expectation is that you show up and you actively pay attention so I can help you be a good student, not baby you to being a good student.
Yeah, it's not teaching good habits if you reciprocate when someone else is coming up in the wrong way. You have to show me the right energy and I will reciprocate. Otherwise, I'm not building a good student, right?
Yeah, and that's more prevalent in the adult classes, like I was saying, is the kids' classes. As long as you show up with that great energy and that awesome attitude, you can just get them to fall in line. It all really depends on you having the good attitude. You don't really even need the flex back, like them to be reciprocating, because most of the kids just listen, and that's just because innately in this time in their life, they're used to going to school, listening to a teacher, falling in line with, walking to recess, all that kind of stuff. They're just in that mode. But then as we get older and we think we know everything and stuff like that, we're a little less into like falling in line in that kind of order. And you have to reteach people that. They have to like learn how to go back to being a kid and just kind of fall in line and just do what the teacher says and just and follow the instructions and not do something that you're not supposed to do. It's the best ever, because I'll teach the kids classes and I'll be like, do this drill. The kids will do that drill. I'll teach the adult classes, do this drill. And then you get these adults that try it one time and then all of a sudden they're doing something completely different that they just saw on YouTube or something like that. And I walk over and I'm just like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Did you listen to the teacher? This is what we're doing right now. It's like if you were in school and your teacher's teaching about something and all of a sudden you're like on your computer about something completely different. It's like that teacher would be irritated. So you want to try to not be obviously that kind of a student. The more that an adult can be the student, or just like, yep, we're all on the same page, attitude's the same, we're here to learn, we're going to work on this together, and then we're going to just make this a good experience.
It's also distracting to your other cohorts. You're interacting with another student and you're now showing him the stuff you learned on YouTube has nothing to do with the course material. And since you're interpreting it from a YouTube video, I doubt you've mastered the technique. What, are you at home with one of those dummies trying to practice the arm bar?
Oh my gosh, that's the best point ever. Like I just hate that, because when you're teaching somebody something or you're trying to show somebody something that you just learned off of YouTube, you're wasting your partner's time. They didn't come to class for you to teach them. They don't pay money for you to teach them your YouTube stuff. Otherwise, y'all just do it in your garage. For me, they pay because I know I'm a tough badass, and they can come pay somebody that's legit at what he's doing to help them through this process. It's not a master YouTube thing. This is a real life, like I do this kind of stuff, and they need to get their money's worth. So anytime you take their attention off of what we're supposed to be learning with somebody that's right in front of you that knows what they're doing, that you're paying for, you're stealing their money essentially from that person. And that's really not fair, because most of the time that person's gonna act kind of excited, like they want to see what you're doing, but that's not the best thing that they need for their learning process. Why? Because I'm the teacher and we're doing something that they're on a process for. That's why I'm teaching it this way, and we're not doing your YouTube stuff right now. So just trying to help use that to keep people on like the same page when they're training, when they're interacting with the rest of the students and stuff. The more that everybody's on that, it's just like this calm, smooth, cool environment. Everybody's like safe, respectful, and they're drilling well, and then people feel comfortable
And if you're not, you need to be willing to accept the course material as it comes to you, and attitude is part of the coursework. And so if you're not paying attention and giving that same attentive attitude to everything the teacher is trying to show you, and you're bringing in your own stuff, that's also showing a level of disrespect, right? Like what is more important than what the teacher is trying to show everybody. I mean, that shows a defect in your attitude right there, because you're already saying you have something to teach. You just got here.
Right. It's like this, just exactly that is attitude is so much of a part of what happens in jiu-jitsu, and that's why you can see the difference between a black belt and a white belt, and just the way that they carry themselves, the way that things happen on the mat, all that kind of stuff, and innately it comes with a lot of that experience of just getting humbled throughout the years, and then not only getting humbled as far as like getting beat up, but if you have a good instructor, they're holding you accountable for your like movements, which is making you humble because you actually have to practice more. So, and get good at something in order to achieve your belt. Some people do achieve their belt in a fast time, and some people it takes them a lot longer. Well, it's kind of that, how much work you're putting in and the appropriate type of work that you're putting in at the right time. So, that's kind of a good one.
Well, it's like, even in my own personal experience, anytime I've listened to any criticism that I've gotten from you or any other instructor and I've applied it, whatever I was doing got better, like just flat out. I put some time into it. I got corrected. I tried to apply the correction, repeat, wash, rinse. What do you know? I can throw a punch better, or I'm able to make this movement happen without falling off my balance.
Right. You know, I've always been kind of big in trust, right? So I put it this way: if you don't trust me to help you get better, then please go down the street, because that's not going to help our relationship. If you're telling me that you don't trust me when I'm trying to help you get better, like, I'm not in it to steal your money. I'm in it to help make you a better student. That's what I do. That's why I have a whole school. It's not a thing where you're making $1 million and stuff like that. And so when you are part of a facility like that, and you know that from the instructor and stuff, that's why you don't question a lot of that stuff, and you just first you hope that you get some of that detailed stuff, because you're like, oh, nice, I trust my instructor is going to give me these details that's going to really help me get to the next level. Probably because this, at worst, he probably wants him another gold medal on his wall. And he probably would want me to go out there and win a gold medal before I lose, you know? So that's even just in that weird selfish kind of idea, like your instructor's probably going to help you get better, just even if they didn't like you, but they want their student to be good because it's a reflection of them.
Yeah, it just makes no sense why you wouldn't expect your instructor to be doing everything in their power to build you as a person, as a martial artist. You showed up here, there's an attitude, there's an experience I'm trying to convey, and hopefully you get that point at this, juncture. So it's just very imperative that attitude is taken in place for so many things. It's not just the look on your face. It's not just body language. And on the next episode, we'll dig a little deeper into some of the other practical thought processes that go into becoming a better student.